The elections of 2024 would be a very interesting one if you look at the key front runners. So there's a former president who was once a vice president, then there will be a sitting vice president, then a minister for trade who wanted to be a flag bearer. So those are the three people, the trio in this upcoming election. The three of them have been on the various campaigns doing their various interactions and engagements. The vice president in the Greater Accra region, in Accra to be specific, has been outlining his own plan and vision. And that has sparked the debate of a trotro mate and a trotro driver. Former President Mahama, who again himself has been the subject of discussions around trotro drivers and mates when he was a bus driver of the NDC when it crashed in 2016. The issue was it the driver who was at fault or the bus, or was it the jockey or the horse? You remember that? Then we have Kyerematen also outlining his own vision. On the Situation Room on Citi TV, we put all of this together for you in a better perspective for you to make sense of the big stories. My name is Umaru Sanda Amado, and I'm doing this with
Sami Wiafe.
Sami Wiafe, how are you doing? I always like to ask you, how is the president doing?
The president is fine.
For those who don't know, Sami Wiafe is the only man who interacts with the president 7 times a week. Charlie, you're a lucky big man. You're a lucky big man. I hope he's doing well. Everything is fine.
He's well.
I saw his wife yesterday at the Dr. Bawumia's event. He didn't come. Where is he? He's in Ghana?
I thought he's out of the country.
Okay, maybe he's gone to Guyana or somewhere. He's chilling.
I have no idea where he's been to.
When we come back, we'll look at the big stories, what has been happening on the campaign trail here on the Situation Room. You're welcome back. This is the Situation Room on Citi TV. We're broadcasting from number 5 Ola Hansen Lane at Tesano in Accra. Let's start off now with the campaign trail of the various candidates. I mean, where do you want to start it from? Former President Mahama or Dr. Bawumia?
Let's start with former President Mahama because he was the first candidate to be elected last year, May of 2023. He's been on the campaign trail for a while now. Recently, he was in the Upper East region, and now he's in the Northern region, telling people what he will do if he's elected as President of the Republic. He's on the tour known as the Building Ghana Tour, the Ghana we all want.
You remember Akufo's Rise and Build tour?
Yeah, Rise and Build, and also Listening Tour. He's undertaken a number of tours before he became president. Until, when he became president, he said he was doing on a nationwide tour. Different names and different things that politicians will give to their tours anytime they are in opposition. So the former president is in the Northern region telling the people of the Northern region what he would do for the people and the Ghanaian in general if he's given opportunity to be elected as President of the Republic again. 2020, he made that attempt. It didn't work. 2024, he's hoping that luck will shine on him. His major policy, which is the 24-hour economy, has what gotten a lot of people talking. If you remember yesterday in Dr. Bawumia's address, he kept making references to that particular policy of John Dramani Mahama. So we'll see how the campaign goes. He's been there telling people what he's doing, throwing a few jabs at Bawumia and the MPP government in general, looking at some of their failed promises, blaming them for the current economic mess that we are in, a whole lot of things going in there.
So let me say that we have in studio 2 persons from the 2 campaigns. A campaign team member of John Mahama is in studio. A campaign team of Dr. Bawumia is in studio. We may also have an Kyerematen campaign person on Zoom to join us. So we have all of that coming up. So what we have to do is that let's go to the videos and hear them speak, right? Introduce for us the first person who is on the campaign that you want us to hear.
Let's start with former President John Dramani Mahama because he's been on this campaign. He started long than other of the candidates. So he's been telling, as I said, mentioning what he will do for this country. A lot of people have been criticizing him that he's been promising too much, one way or the other. But let's hear what he's been telling the people in his rounds.
A bit more, I say politics is dirty. Into what the say about politics, I can't, nipa person or mote. And so you end this idea and say, near betty me aye and yeka. Yen shabo se nipa ento maya, abra ye nim say yenti minye. Bosha or Moshe ye, 2016, ye say NDC ye incompetent administration. Na ye nim amambo. Enti yankotra nchen na omomra Samre no me catch on mo say, Motin chanti, Moka say a jumana da form. Na Moaka Samubedia, Mubehu Seni City. And that year, young ye. Nia Omwaya and Omwaye. Aka Bosumudu near Tuaba. She embekaho. Nyoma ya eni. Enti se wo ho na odwen se ombeye bibia chensa asan omuntibi nyehwe biom. Enti fawadwen nato abano se ne sefata. Wo hwe ye constituency ha nyina empuntu a esumbu bia ndisi abreso eni nyan. Kaniao, Ensio, School Adayo, Apomudino, Bibia, NDC Abreso, and I Sakai.
They are good at propaganda. And so they just keep repeating something. Oh, we came and met your mess. We came and met your mess. In 2016, for the first time in Ghana's history, we ran the government budget without taking one CD from the Bank of Ghana. Zero borrowing from Central Bank. You in 2021, 42 billion you made Central Bank print for you. The following year, 2022, 35 billion you made Central Bank print for you. And that is why today Central Bank is broke. Because it made a loss of more than 60 billion cedis. When I was president, Central Bank made a profit of more than 1 billion cedis. And so that propaganda must stop once and for all. You didn't inherit a mess. You inherited an economy that was doing well. It is you, by your mismanagement, your clueless finance minister, and your clueless head of economic management team, who now wants to run away from economic issues to become the champion of digitalization. It is they who have created this mess. And let me put this thing to rest once and for all. They always talk about the mess John Mahama left us, the economic mess he left us. I mean, let's just go down a comparison lane. When I left office, the debt to GDP was 57%. Today, the debt to GDP is more than 100%. It means if you take all Ghana's GDP and you turn it into money, you use it to pay all our debts, and you still owe 3%. Our debt to GDP was 57%. And the optimum GDP for middle-income countries that is recommended by the IMF is 60%. So we're even under the recommended debt to GDP. When we left office, the budget deficit was 6.6%. Today, the budget deficit, it even went to 15%. It has now started dropping. When we left office, inflation was 15.5%. Inflation under this government went to 54%, and is only now dropping. It's about 30%. When we left office, cocoa production was 960,000 metric tons. And we went for syndication loan of $1.8 billion, brought $1.8 billion into this country. Today, cocoa production is under 500,000 tons. And when they went for syndication, they got only $800 million. At 8%, we got 1.8 billion at 2%.
Sada, so NDC flag bearer, former President John Dramani Mahama, punching the MPP in some of the few things the government has done and a few of their failures.
So the man he was punching, Dr. Bawumia, yesterday addressed the nation, and he said his address was going to be beyond the party, but he was going to address the nation. He went to the UPSA, where he gave this long lecture about how the government of Akufo-Addo has fared so far and his own vision.
Yeah.
Let's watch him too.
Ladies and gentlemen, the good news is that the data shows that the economy is recovering from the crisis we faced. Inflation has declined from 54% in January last year to 23% in December 2023. Economic growth is rebounding, spending is under control, and the fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP has declined from 10.8% in 2020 to 4.2% in 2023. The debt to GDP ratio, after increasing from 61.2% in 2019 to 76.6% in 2021, has declined to 66.4% in 2023. And the exchange rate depreciation has also slowed down sharply since February 2023. Whereas the exchange rate depreciated by 30% in 2022, between February and December 2023, the exchange rate depreciated by only 9%. Ladies and gentlemen, what is remarkable is that notwithstanding the domestic and global crisis that we have experienced between 2020 and 2022, the economic performance as measured by the key economic indicators such as GDP growth, agricultural growth, industry growth, trade balance, exchange rate depreciation, lending rates, gross international reserves, and jobs. The performance of all these key indicators is better under our government than that of the 2013 to 2016 period, when there was no global crisis. When there was no global crisis. The Bank of Ghana has completed a pilot of a digital version of the Ghana Citi in Seshwiwioso. This is known as the Central Bank Digital Currency, or the e-Citi. The e-Citi is designed to work online and offline and will be launched by the Bank of Ghana in due course. In my humble opinion, the e-Citi, with appropriate privacy protections, will be the ultimate weapon in our fight against corruption, because it will provide transparency, reduce the risk of fraud, robbery, tax avoidance, and money laundering, since it will be easy to track the movement of money and identify suspicious activity. The e-Citi will quicken the pace of Ghana's move towards a cashless or near cashless society. Ladies and gentlemen, to move towards a cashless economy, however, we have to encourage the population to use electronic channels of payment. To accomplish this, under my administration, there will be no taxes on digital payments. The e-levy will therefore be abolished. Furthermore, to enhance transparency, I will cause to be published online details of all public contracts for public scrutiny.
So one of the big takeaways there, e-levy to be cancelled. E-levy, a very, very unpopular tax that was introduced. You can call it a tax that went through a lot of stress in Parliament before it went through. He says if he comes or becomes president, he will abolish that. The Alan Chairman, Kyerematen, has been on the point of view which show you produce. Talk to us about what he's been saying before we play that video.
On Wednesday, which is yesterday, he was guest to Bernard Avile, outlines his vision for this country. He was given opportunity to be the president of the republic. He talks about the GTP, which basically focuses on industrialization and how to industrialize this country. He believes that industrialization is the way to go. The creation of more jobs is what the people of Ghana want, and the teeming unemployment in this country is a national security threat. So for him, his focus is on the job, and the creation of more jobs. His experience as a former trade minister, he has an idea how industries work in this country. So given opportunity to be president, he's going to use this experience to focus on job creation.
So let's listen to Alan Kyerematen. He actually took a jab at Dr. Bawumia as well.
It is clear that we need to try something different. You know, the famous Einstein theory. If you continue to do something in the same way, can you expect a different result?
So what makes Alan different? Because we can argue that the 32 years you've described, you've been part of it very strongly. You are Ghana's longest serving trade minister. You had a lot of time under Kufuor, and you had a lot of time under Akufo-Addo. So if people's lives are not improving, you can't all of a sudden come and say you are the alternative. They could say that until September 2023, you're actually part of that problem.
Yes, there's no doubt about that. How is it even possible to deny that you've been a minister and you say you're not part of a system? But that's not the case. First, you're talking about being a minister. Now, governments are not run by ministers. It's about the executive authority at the highest level. You provide the direction. And so the fact that I've been part of the system does not mean that you can, in terms of attribution, you know, that you can say that, oh, because Alan was a minister in the two government, because he was part of the system, therefore, he cannot be a change agent. There's a different thing when you've been in the position of, let's say, a vice president, which both President Mahama, ex-President Mahama was, and then current vice president. Because vice president and the presidency is a combined ticket. It is a combined ticket. I mean, this theory about, oh, if you're vice president, you don't have the leverage to do anything, that is not true. Because we all know that in the case of President Mills, literally, he gave the then vice president every opportunity, you know, to lead processes. You know. It's the same thing. President Akufo-Addo has also given the vice president every opportunity to lead the processes of governance. You know. So, but that's different from if you say, I'm a minister responsible for a sector. So it is not fair and appropriate to give the same level of attribution. You know. So I'm fighting.
But what if the vice president currently says, true, I was vice president for 7 years, but you've been trade minister for a longer time. So vice president for 7 years, your trade ministership under Akufo-Addo was like 6.5 to 7. Under Akufo, at least 4. Almost 10 years of trade minister. Ghana ambassador to the US, another 2 or 3. So and US is our most important international partner. So high profile, influential political leadership for like 12 years. So we can if it's actually of possibly more consequence to make a change than a vice president.
I don't believe so, but be that as it may, if you look at my record under President Kufuor and also under President Akufo-Addo, people who have been part of this government will tell you that I was probably one of the most effective ministers in both administrations.
So that's former Trade Minister, leader of the Movement for Change, the Butterfly Movement, Alan Kyerematen, speaking to Bernard Avle on the point of view. In studio now, we have our guests with us. Sami Yafi is my co-host. From the extreme left, Giorgio Pariado, also known as Pablo, lawyer, national organizer of the NDC.
National Youth Organizer.
National Youth Organizer. Forgive me. If I pass the youth thing.
Leave it there.
Do you want to say something?
No, 2-time national youth organizer.
Yeah, but you are thinking that he's more than 40, so you should stop being youth organizer. But I will say, Pablo, you're welcome to our studios.
Thank you, Omaro.
Dennis Miracles Abuaji, former MC10 political activist.
You know, I succeeded Pablo.
You took actually, both of you from the same district. Yes. How is your district doing?
It's really well.
On top of the mountain, right? Is that a
Yes, but it's split now.
So that's Obiamo's place?
No, Okre, Namboche's place.
So Okre and Sami Oku's place?
Yes.
Dokuya's place.
Sami Oku is a candidate now.
Is Sami winning?
Of course, I mean.
He's winning.
Yes.
He's tickling himself.
Ask him again.
I can't ask him. I don't want to ask him. Sammy's not winning.
No.
I'm sure he's one of these people that goes here angry.
Guys, but it's started. The politics has started. The campaigning has started. Before we talk about your respective candidates, I want to talk about Alan Kyerematen. Do you regard him as a party now? Do you consider him a threat at all?
Especially the MPP.
Yes,
coming from where he's coming from.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's an election. Everybody on the ballot paper have the view that they could win. And for us in the MPP, we take every election seriously, in spite of what the person's SWOT may be. And so once he finds himself on the ballot paper, why not? We would factor him into everything that we do as a political party. We are not taking chances. We are not complacent at all. And we are not downplaying anybody's effect.
But you sound like it's just because he's on the ballot so you are concerned. But don't forget, he has left your party. He is from the Ashanti region, your hometown or your home base. And chances are that he will take a chunk of your support there.
Well, I mean, if we go into that analysis, then we can make some more commentary. The NDC and the MPP will both suffered, people leaving our political parties and attempting to form parties over the years. And we've been able to weather the storm all of that. So that's another analysis to do as to whether that effect is really there. I don't think so. I don't think that Mr. Alan Kyerematen has that gravitas to affect the party just because he's from the MPP and he's from the Ashanti region. I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, the MPP and the NDC, I have always insisted that these two political parties are very established forces. If you have any idea about how political parties function, then you understand that there's a tall order, an extremely tall order for any other party. It would take another party probably from 20 to 30 years really to be able to get to the level of NDC and the MPP. It's a lot of work.
He spoke about the performance of the vice president and comparing that to the president. I'll come back and talk about it. Pablo, how does the NDC regard Alan?
The NDC doesn't take anybody for granted. If you know the history of the NDC, if you know what happened to us in 2000 when Gusitano broke away, it affected us. So if Alan is going to be on the ballot, we'll treat Alan like any other political party. And we take every election seriously. If he makes it through the Electoral Commission's processes and come 7th December is on the ballots, then the NDC is going to treat him like any other political party. He has his strengths, he has his weaknesses. And so when we are factoring how our campaign is going to look like, we will look at Alan Kyerematen with what he brings on board, what he's going to take out of both the NDC and the NPP, and then we'll fashion out a strategy to deal with him. So we don't underestimate Alan Kyerematen at all. Coming from the background I come from, and what we saw in 2000 when the reform movement or the reform party was carved or created out of the NDC. So we don't take anything for granted. We're not going to take chances. We'll treat all of them as our political opponents. We'll look at whatever messages they are preaching, and we'll be ready for them. And Dennis speaks about it's going to take 20 to 30 years for any. If you look at how political parties operate, you will mistakenly make that assumption. But the Ghanaian voter is becoming sophisticated by the day. And the kind of conversations that are going on today, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you could sound like how Dennis is sounding. But I don't want to believe that it's going to take 20 or 30 years. And we, the politicians ourselves, the kind of conversations we keep having, the kind of things we say about ourselves, in due time, you will find a third force springing up. And let's not underestimate.
I was actually going to bring that.
Let's not underestimate the role.
So you think that third force is a reality and a huge possibility?
You see, because of how our politics is being conducted, in the last 7 years, under the wastefulness of the NPP, now the assumption out there is that all political parties are the same. Even though we beg to differ because we are never the same, we are not like the NPP.
They are doing more socialist interventions than you did.
Omar, you can talk about socialist interventions. You see, we've narrowed the definition of social interventions to what the NPP calls social intervention. The one who provides electricity to that rural community, the one who builds that school block, the one who builds that hospital for you to access, the one who makes that road. But if the infrastructure is not there, I'm coming. If you hold your health insurance card, are you going to take it to a choba or a hospital? So the one who introduces health insurance he's brought a social intervention. The one who built that hospital for you to access. If you don't regard that as social intervention, then there's a narrow definition of social intervention. So let's not get into that argument. But reality is that because of how the NPP have conducted itself in the last 7 years, now the assumption is that politics is a way of coming in, looting, stealing, making money, living exorbitantly, and then messing up and lying to the people, because when it is time for elections, we can just throw money at them. But that is not what we signed for. That is not the social contract we have with the Ghanaian. And I believe strongly that going forward, we need to do more as politicians, Dennis, myself, and every other person. We need to do more to change that narrative. Because people gradually by the day are losing interest in politics. And it shouldn't be the case, because we are there to solve societal problems. We are there to make a difference in the life of the people. And so we cannot allow everybody put all of us in the same block. The NDC I belong to, it's not like the NPC. We can never be like
Then it's 20 to 30 years. And yet, when Cheddar started his thing, now people caught his spokesperson and was stressing the woman in town. You were afraid. You didn't even allow them to do their thing at Independence when you're here saying that 20 to 30 years before.
So, I mean, if you make that kind of assumption, they are saying that because the gentleman at your gate is hungry, you should just walk into your office and come and take any food you want and eat, and the law shouldn't apply. I think that we need to contextualize the issue. The fact is this. What I see is based on science and data. It's all based on assumptions. The views and the opinions and how you anticipate it can be different. But it's obvious. Check every mature democracy and give me one that has more than 2 political parties leading. Just check. There's none. I'm a political science student, so I speak with science and data. Political science clearly establishes that once in a while, you have a surprise pop out. But usually you realize that those parties that even pop up once in a while through instances like Pablo is saying, they don't even last. They don't even last. Check around. So for me, mine is purely based on research. It is politically right for anybody to assume that in Ghana, it's going to take a while. Tell me one mature democracy that has more than 2 frontline political parties. Tell me one.
But we've seen mature democracies where a third party
so I've made that point.
Has come up strongly.
Yes, so once in a while, it will pop up. But you go back and go and check where that political party is.
So for you, the data is not.
It doesn't support that. Yes. So
we'll never find
no. You see, so I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. That you see, you can make the anticipation and make the assumptions. To form a political party and build a political party takes a lot of effort and a lot of time. Okay, so
but things have changed. Not the 92.
What are you basing what you are saying on? What are you basing it on? Is there any evidential?
Yeah, the young people throng the Independence Square
and the
to go and
assumptions
listen.
keep coming up. What is the data available?
The data on the
show?
ground is that the young people went there to go and listen to this third force, and you shut down the Independence.
No, that's the which third force? You keep referring to third force.
I am saying that the debates are starting.
Let me just at least
let's go for a quick break. When we come back, we will engage the debates. Okay. Don't worry. So we'll go for a quick break. We'll be back.
Your health is in your hands, but at some point, it passes on to us. At Mintuba Hospital and Coloproctology Center, we believe that quality healthcare isn't a privilege, it's a right. Equipped with cutting-edge technology, we are fully prepared to effectively deal with all colorectal and proctological conditions. Our team of highly skilled doctors, surgeons, and nurses are renowned for their expertise in minimally invasive and painless laser, ligature, and lungoproctological surgery. We are committed to providing a wide range of services to meet the diverse needs of our patients. Mintuba Hospital, your health is our priority. Visit Mintuba Hospital today or call us at 0244 581 541 or 0271 054 204. Mintuba Hospital, in to serve a peculiar health need.
Welcome back. This is the Situation Room on Citi TV. I am Omar Rusanda here with Sami Uyafi, and this afternoon we are hosting 2 personalities, George Parado, current youth organizer of the NDC, former MCE, also his successor in office, Dennis Miracles Abuaji, who is also no more the MCE for this particular municipality, but a campaign team member of Dr. Bawumia. Let's start off with Dr. Bawumia. Yesterday at the UPSA, what did he seek to do? New vision, new man, trying to say that I'm not part of the trotro. What was he trying to do?
So first of all, he never said that. And then, secondly, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia yesterday took us on a journey of where we have come from as a country and where we are. And then he rehashed some of the challenges we've encountered in that journey and also gave us a visual of how the future looks like for us as a country within the global space. And in his view, where he believes we should position ourselves going into the future. I think yesterday, if you listen across the country, you realize that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has set the tone nicely and beautifully. This is what democracy is about. Go, itemize your views, itemize your issues, give your alternatives. Let your opponent also come with superior alternatives. Let's debate it and let the people make choices. And I think from today onwards, what all Ghanaians are seeking is that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia yesterday itemized 70 new things he intends to execute under his presidency. And he placed them under 20 thematic areas. Fundamentally for me, I think that moving forward, that is where the conversation should be centered on. Other opponents can add on and make the S 90 or 100. But let's debate the issues and talk about what it is that we're expecting to do going into. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia believes that as a country, we've achieved so much, especially the last 8 years. But so much is still outstanding to do. There are a lot of things that we need to do. We've achieved so much under education. We've achieved so much under agriculture, so much under health. We've done so much under infrastructure, industrialization. A lot of things are being done at the base to give us that leap. But he also admitted yesterday that there are critical challenges with our economy. And he referred to how well the economy was doing between 2017 and 2021, which is a fact. In fact, when we took over in 2017, the economy was in complete shambles. And it's not coming from me. The former president himself, 2015, 2016, told us that this economy has been eaten with all the meat out and it's left with the bone. At some point, it got so terrible that the former president had to even come out and say that he is completely tired and is now immune to any form of criticisms.
And when like he said that, Nana Akufo-Addo said that he is done with his part. He's leaving the rest of our
So the former president in 2016 basically made that point, and it tells you how terrible it was. As of the 2017, every year this country was churning out about 135,000 Ghanaians on the streets who are unable to access senior high school education because, one, their parents are unable to afford, two, we do not have enough infrastructure to hold them. And so we brought an artificial cutoff point, and somebody gets 13, 14, cannot go to school simply because that school that could enroll him doesn't have the infrastructure to hold him. We had a health system that was completely on its knees. We were churning out hundreds and thousands of young people on the street every year who had no hope and nothing to do. Professor Mills, I remember correctly. Remember during Professor Mills' day, we had this unprecedented inflation where I think for almost about 4 or 5 years in a row, Professor Mills was doing single-digit inflation. Immediately, Professor Mills left, and former President Mahama took office. Between 2013 to 2016, not a single year did we register a single-digit inflation. In fact, between 2013 and 2017, almost every year, the inflation numbers were going up. It's going up from 12%, and he exited with almost about 70%. Meanwhile, he inherited about 8% or so from Professor Mills. Our economy clearly was going downhill. And then between 2017 and 2021, we started seeing a turnaround. All the economic indicators were doing well. Every single economic indicator, and that is without dispute. That is without any argument. Every indicator from the GDP to the inflation to everything was doing well until we encountered this unprecedented, never seen before in the last 100 years pandemic. The last time we saw the kind of pandemic we saw in 2020 was in 1918, the Spanish flu, which rocked every economy across the world, including even the first world countries. Today, the US, the UK, Germany, all the countries you can think of are grappling with their economies. Some of them are struggling with 40-year inflations and what have you. And so between 2020 and now, all economies have been struggling to find themselves out of the woods. And you recall, and you agree with me, Umaru, that today, a lot of our counterparts or our fellow Ghanaians who died during COVID, if they had caught COVID today, would probably survive. Why? Because over the period, everybody has now been able to find a way to live with COVID. Unfortunately, we had to lose them. Similar thing happened to our economies. It's taken every economy across the world a lot of time for us to shake up and readjust and begin to live with the impact and effect of COVID. And so we are all coming out of it.
So you came to tell that story of success.
yesterday he took us through the story of success and took us through
the story of
the downturn and gave a clear indication that notwithstanding, the whole of 2023 and so far in 2024, we could see from each of the economic indicators that it is improving, it is getting better. So the same way we've been able to find a way to live with COVID and survive, unlike in the past that it was killing us, we've been able to now find a way to live within these economic shocks and be able to recover out of it. For that reason, he believes that going into the future, we need a leader who has the capacity to be able to understand the gains we've been able to make, and consolidate that gains, so that you can and then leap into the future and get us into the ground.
Pablo, a lot of your party folks were writing on social media that they would rather watch the South Africa-Nigeria game. Is that what happened? Or you watched and took notes, and which notes you're going to address for us now?
I watched the South Africa-Nigerian game.
Before you went to watch the playback?
Along the line, when it was half time, I tuned in. You know why? It's not just NDC folks. It was Ghanaians who were saying they were not going to watch. Let me be very honest and let me be very charitable with Dr. Bawumia. I don't think any sane mind would dignify Bawumia with any response. Because he had an opportunity yesterday of first apologizing to Ghanaians. What did Bawumia do to the people of this country? Between 2008, or let me even come to 2012 when he lost, until 2016. He went around with a projector and mounted screens and led Ghanaians on a charade of telling lies of what he intends to do and what the NPP was going to do. Bawumia now gets the nod to become flag bearer of the NPP. And now he's telling us that he likes mangoes, but he doesn't like the juice that comes out of the mangoes. Because in one breath, he's responsible for the digitalization of the Ghanaian economy. And that's the economy that we all knew him for. The economy that was handed over to him to manage. The same economy that in 2017, 2018, he came to tell you and I that there was a solid economic management team and mentioned names that he was leading. The same economy that he came to tell you and I in 2017, 2018, that he had arrested a dollar, locked it, and given the keys to the IGP. Now he shies away and runs away from that same economy. And let me tell Ghanaians something. I like how crafty Bawumia is. The economy Bawumia inherited, the gains they made in 2017, 2018, then NPP cannot take credit for it. And I'll tell you why. Because no economic policy takes effect over a year. When you come in 2017, the budget of the NPP was passed somewhere around April when they brought in this South African firm to come and help them put together their budget. McKinsey. Every economic policy, and Sandra, you know this, you know this, it takes a span. But between 2015, when President Mahama addressed the nation and said we were left to the bones, the economy started recovering. In 2015, in 2016, when we were leaving, inflation was at 15.6%. Maybe my brother Dennis can check and tell the good people of this country. We have seen a decline. It is not also true that in 2012, when President Mills died and the NDC took over, inflation was at 8%. It is not true. Inflation went down to a certain level. But by 2012, 2013, inflation started rising. It was not because of mismanagement. What Dennis refused to tell the good people of this country is that between 2013 and 2014, commodity prices fell drastically. It was not a pandemic. But these were issues that affected local economies. So, for instance, in 2013, 2014, our finance minister had to go to Parliament 3 times to revise the budget because the prices of gold fell, the price of oil fell, the price of cocoa fell. So we needed to adjust. And that led to some of the difficulties we suffered. Let me also make an honest admission that in 2012, during the elections, a lot of things did go wrong. But in 2016, President Mahama promised the good people of this country. And in making that promise, he made that promise in a certain context. The statement Dennis made and said, President Mahama said he was a dead goat. That is not what President Mahama said. He said he was not going to borrow from the central bank. He was going to keep to the budget limits. And he knows that in an election year, there will be a lot of agitations from Labour. But in his first 2 years as president, between 2013 and 2014, he had encountered a lot. And so he was not going to fall for it. And that he's acquired that syndrome. And he was going to stick to the budget. The question you and I must ask ourselves is that in 2016, did he stick to that promise? Yes, he did. And so when they came in, we had seen a decline in inflation. We had seen the economy recover. So between 2017 and 2018, they implemented President Mahama's project, his program, the IMF that we did go to. that they criticized, that was such in operation. In 2019, before COVID, the economy started suffering. And the records are there. The World Bank country director told us that the Ghanaian economy even had its challenges before COVID struck us.
So the challenges started before COVID?
Immediately we exited the IMF program in 2018. That is when the problem started, when they started implementing their own programs. And so it is not correct and it is not true. Today, as per the last quarter, you know the rate of GDP growth, 2.3%. As at December, as at the third quarter of, because the last quarter is yet to come out, as at the third quarter of 2023. 2.3%, that is the GDP growth. You know inflation rates today, you know what food inflation is. In 2016, when the NDC was leaving, food inflation was at 9%. The data is there, Bank of Ghana, you can go and check. You know the rate today, 28.9%. So what are they telling us?
But Pablo, globally, we all know how the pandemic affected economies. So, and Ghana, hold on. Ghana wasn't left out.
Exactly.
Economies are recovering.
Exactly.
Ghana and the IMF, everybody has said that Ghana is on a path of recovery.
Exactly.
So you know, give them that's...
We will give them if the challenges were not peculiar to only Ghana alone. And then our neighbors, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Benin, Nigeria, we're all suffering from the same problems and predicaments we find ourselves in. But that is not the case in these countries. So what went wrong? The pandemic did not strike only Ghana. You understand? So our case cannot be isolated. Let's look at the global context. Let's look at the sub-Saharan context, where we find ourselves currently. And then we'll be able to come up and say that because Cote d'Ivoire is suffering, because we share the same economic lines, because Nigeria is suffering, because Togo is suffering, because war-torn Mali is suffering, and their economies are in such a bad shape, then we can make an excuse for this government. But in these instances, they are not in a mess like we find ourselves today. Our situation is worse. What I was expecting Bawumia to do yesterday was first to apologize to the good people of this country, because we deserve an apology from Bawumia. The kind of things he said, the lies he told, the promises he made. So you make all these promises, you don't fulfill them, and you have the nerves and infantry to come and stand before us.
But the government hasn't ended. He as vice president, his tenure hasn't ended. So if he said the promises have not been fulfilled, who knows? The rest of the months left, he'll be able to fulfill the government.
When the president of the republic, when the president of the republic has already thrown in the towel, is it the driver's mate that is going to get us back onto the road? Akufo-Addo himself has told us that it is over. It's game over. There is nothing to be done again. And so he's waiting for anybody who comes in to come and fix the mess. Bawumia, who is running away from his responsibilities. You know the mark of every true leader. Leadership is taking responsibility. In 2014, when President Mahama addressed the nation, when we encountered him, so what did he do? He said, I came to inherit this problem. But as your president and your leader, I take full responsibility and I'm going to fix Dumso. And what did President Mahama do? In October 2016, Dumso was fixed. Yesterday, I heard this honest Bawumia standing in front of the good people of Ghana, telling us that they fixed Dumso. For real, what have they added to the national grid? How did they fix Dumso? Because everybody will bear with us that as of October 2016, we had installed capacity and Dumso was a thing of the past.
Okay, but at least for now,
we left them. We also left them.
For now, we don't see the lights go up. I'll come back. I'll come back. Just hold on. Just hold on.
We left them with ESLA to fix the legacy debts within the energy sector.
Not ESLA, also energy sector.
Energy sector. Okay. What has become of ESLA? You understand?
Yes, Pablo. I'm sorry. Forgive me, Dennis. Your boss made some wild promises.
Again,
E-levy will be taken off if he's elected president. Emission tax will be taken off. ECG, VAT on ECG, if it's still in the books, as he said. There are many who have said that he was part of the decision making when all these levies were brought in. What difference is it now? How different is it now that he's going to take it off if he's elected president? But he was in there and he didn't have a say not to even implement them in the first place. How do you react to people who say this?
So, Sami, I mean, before I come to that, let's establish the fact. It is not true that in fact, the entire 4-year period under President John Mahama, there was not a single improvement in any indicator in the economy. That's a matter of fact. So if you come and say that for your 4 years tenure, the economy couldn't improve, but immediately you left a year after, the economy improved, it's quite strange. Because Professor Mills left a single-digit inflation. But for the 4-year period that you stayed in office, each of the years recorded double digit. Not just double digit, it grew from 17% from 12% all the way to 17%.
What's
so
inflation
at what
now?
point?
What's inflation
no, I'll come there.
I'll come there.
I'll come there. 23%. 23%.
Sorry?
23%. But let me make my point. Don't distort my point. So for the 4 years, you see, contextualize.
But you do have locals to talk about inflation.
No, I do.
You sure?
Contextualize the conversation. I am telling you that you are telling me that immediately you left office, after 4 years of shambolic leadership,
it was reducing.
4 years, it was never.
It was reducing.
You inherited.
Probably
I never.
I'm sorry. Go on.
You inherit a single digit inflation, and then for 4 years, it moves all the way to 17. Then you say that when you left, it came to 15, so it had reduced. That is your leadership.
8.6.
You inherited the GDP, and I was trying to. You inherited a GDP of 8.42. You left the GDP at 3.37.
And today is what, 2.1?
3.37.
Today is 2.1.
In the 4 years, in our 4 year period.
So what's the status now?
Wait, let
me
2.1. Context.
Today is 2.1.
Between 2017, the way you are interrupting is on that.
I'm sorry.
Context.
Sorry.
Between 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. 2018, 8.3, 6.2, 6.5 GDP. That's what we inherited until we experienced a global pandemic. Do you dispute that the global pandemic rocked global economies?
Are you sure this global pandemic thing will work for you? Because it's like you've overflowed it, don't you think?
Do you dispute?
That it did at the time.
At which time?
People have recovered and moved on.
Exactly.
You still seem to be
Every
going back
economy is recovering. So what are you talking about? Is that not the reason why we are recovering? We went to 53%.
When I go to supermarkets, people used to display price of goods there. Now they don't. They say that because they don't know where to change.
We went to 53% inflation. It's at 23. That's recovery. That is recovery. And I'm telling you that within context, the first 4 years of our leadership, the economy boom is undisputed. No problem. It's unarguably in doubt.
Sami's question to you was, why come and try to cure something you could have prevented? Why introduce e-levy and come and say you're going to take it off?
So again, not to digress, the Vice President's point yesterday was simple. The country definitely needs leadership. A leadership that acknowledges the challenges.
That's lacking now? Leadership is lacking now?
No. Leadership going into the future. Nana Dranko for this tenor is coming to an end.
I'm talking about e-levy. Why sit there watch e-levy to be born and then you kill the baby?
Yesterday I gave you an example on air. Today I'm sure, in fact, my waist is paining me. And you and I agree that you would have wanted us to be seated. But the production, let me just respond. You may disagree, but let me respond.
Okay, but I don't want to sit.
I'll give you a scenario. Okay. So you wanted to sit. The production's decision is that we stand. This room has about 20 or 30 people taking a decision. You are part of the production. We finally agreed that we have to stand. And this is common sense. This is logic. You can spin it. But common sense says that once the production agrees, once the organization agrees, there's something called collective responsibility. And the Vice President doesn't have the ultimate responsibility, but he's part and he has a collective responsibility to the running of the state. There is a cabinet that takes decision with the president. The Vice President's view on e-levy has never been in doubt. Way before e-levy.
He has always been against it.
He has always been against it.
So how come we saw...
Way before... Can I... Why? Wait. Let me... Don't ambush me like that.
No, we're not ambushing you. Just
let me make my point. The Vice President's position on e-levy has been there long time.
So he's been against.
The video is always been online.
But also...
And you have seen it.
But we saw the information minister being quoted as saying Bawumia has always been in on
He never said that.
It's not true?
Yes, he never said that.
But we were told that it's because Bawumia agrees with e-levy that he said, let's give 100 cedis
There is something called collective responsibility. The decision of running the state is taken on a day-to-day basis with one that has ultimate responsibility and executive power. We're educating the public. You can have your views, but let's state the facts. When you meet in cabinet to take a decision, no single person in cabinet superimposes their views on cabinet.
Very well.
So the Vice President is working with decision of government. But if he becomes president, he has a choice to decide which path he will take in reaching the same position. Yesterday, the Vice President was categorical. The fact that he's decided to take different path does not mean he necessarily thinks that there is anything wrong with any of the issues.
Okay.
Certain policies you introduce at any point in time have their use at the point in time, but do no longer become relevant at a certain point. And he said it. He said that, listen, I want to build a more sustainable economy going into the future. One that would embrace the fourth industrial revolution. One that will be ready for the AIs and all the things that is coming to us as a nation. In doing that, I'm doing that on the basis of digitalization, for which reason I think that I cannot tax digital platform. But I intend to introduce new tax regimes in other areas that will ensure that we can raise the same revenue that we would be looking for from the 11.
Thank you, Dennis.
What new is John Mahama?
Dennis, let me take.
Hasn't he been president before? Why didn't you do all those things that
Dennis,
you're talking
let me take
about?
this quick break. This is Situation Room on Citi TV. When we come back, Pablo thinks that the vice president should have apologized before building his point. Yes, so come back. I'll ask Dennis that. He is also saying that Mahama should have apologized. Please stay with us.
Driver, I don't waste your time, sir.
Buying insurance just got as easy as walking into a Shell shop and picking it off the shelf. Introducing the Hollard Insure Pack. Just scan the QR code in the box, click on the link that appears, enter your car details on WhatsApp, assisted by Araba Hollard, and bam! Officer just has to use the insurance short code *920*57# to verify.
Why you lucky? Next time, make sure. Oh, Anyami, you for do the Hollard Insure Pack. Oh, it coming rough.
The Hollard Insure Pack.
It's too easy.
You're welcome back. This is Situation Room on Citi TV. My guest, George Pablo of NDC, and Dennis Miracles Abuaji of NPP. Sami Wiafi in studio with me as my co-anchor today. Pablo, the question is, what is the alternative that John Mahama is promising? It's a question Dr. Bawumia asked yesterday because he listed what we should expect if we vote for him. What should we expect if Mahama should be voted for?
A government that will not lie to the people, first and foremost. A government that will be honest and frank with the people of Ghana. A government that will represent the true interest of Ghanaians. That is what Ghanaians should expect from His Excellency President Mahama. Over the last
Why are you looking at my face then?
But I'm going to come to that. He said, what should Ghanaians expect, right? And I'm telling you that you need, first and foremost, Bawumia has branded himself as a very dishonest person based on the kind of things he's told Ghanaians previously and what he's telling them again. But you need the people to believe in you as president. And that's what President Mahama is bringing to the table. But over the last 6-7 months, ever since he was elected, he's been out there. We've gone on our listening tour. We've started the Ghana You Want to See tour, or the Ghana We Want, or the Ghana that you and I would love to experience tour. And what we are telling people is when we come, the things we are going to do. We are speaking to young people. We are telling them about what we are going to do in mining, especially for our brothers in mining. We are speaking to people in sports. We are telling them what we are going to do in respect to sports. We are speaking to the masses, the young people who don't have jobs, and how we intend to industrialize this country and create jobs for them. And we are also speaking about fixing the mess that we all find ourselves in. And for me, that is very important, because where we find ourselves today, if we don't fix it, if we don't move away from the old way of doing things, and that is how come the 24-hour economy has taken center stage. Because, for instance, I listened to Dr. Bawumia and how he trivialized the issue of the 24-hour economy by saying that there are digital platforms that you can apply for passports. That is not what we talk about when we talk about creating a 24-hour economy. Let me bring it down to everybody's understanding. I am a driver. I have moved from Accra to Kumasi. Along the line, I suffer a flat tire. Every organizer I get to is closed because after 6, he's left. I have to spend time sleeping in my car. If I had gotten to Kumasi that evening, I could sleep, wake up in the morning and work. What it means is that I'm going to lose all that travel time, wait till the next morning, and then I can continue my journey. What we are saying is that if we have an economy that runs 3 shifts, and that is what we are talking about, where Sanda goes in from 8 in the morning and closes at about 2 p.m. Somebody comes in from 2 p.m. and leaves at about 8 p.m. And then somebody comes in from 8 p.m. to the next morning, 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. So at all point in time, so when I move from Accra as the driver, by the time I get wherever I suffer my flight time, the next spot I find an organizer, there will be somebody working. Yeah. And in creating that, you need to create the environment, you need to create the policy, you need to create a legal framework for it to take place. So I'm sick, I'm rushed to the hospital. I get there, and my labs needs to be done for a doctor to be able to see me and get to know what is wrong. The lab technician is closed. That is what we are talking about by saying we are going to.
Let me just hear from Dennis. Dennis, if you say that is not important, your candidate yesterday spent a significant amount of time trying to demolish that. In 30 seconds, are you saying that 24-hour economy is non-existent, is useless, or you're saying it's not?
We have always insisted that 24-hour economy is generic. It's demand-driven. It's already playing out. I live in Community 20. This afternoon, at exactly 5 p.m., there's a factory that produces biscuits right beside the abattoir. There is a bus coming to drop off workers and picking another batch who came in the morning. Those who are coming today are going to do 24 hours. If you go to Tema today, the industrial area, they are doing 24 hours.
So the
vulcanizer he's talking about, come to Sakomono Total. There's a vulcanizer there who is in 24 hours. You know why? Because in that particular, on that stretch, there are people who have demand. When there is demand, there will be the supply. Also, it's always operating 24 hours. It's Lagos Avenue, Atemuda. Have you seen them close before?
What do they do?
Lagos Avenue, Atemuda.
What do they do?
Ask your cameramen. They know. Your viewers are aware. Bantama High.
It's okay.
Bantama High Street.
Then it's okay. Don't give any more example.
You see, I am only saying that.
The camera people have taken you over. Don't ask anymore.
Don't ask anymore. Policy. You gave him an opportunity.
Ask Pablo if he knows Atemuda.
He knows. He knows Atemuda. No, he went to Lagos. He went to Lagos. He went to Lagos. So he knows Atemuda.
That is. Thank you very much.
They have no policy.
That is. Thank you very much.
You gave him an opportunity.
That is. Thank you very much, Pablo. Thank you very much. Sanda, yes. You need to bring them again.
Yeah, next week, let's do this. Let's do this so we can talk about Temuda properly. Pablo, George Opariado, National Youth Organizer of NDC, Dennis Miracle Sabuaji, member of the Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia campaign team. Sami Yafe is our correspondent at the presidency and also my colleague here in the Citi News. He did what?
It's propaganda.
He did what?
It's propaganda.
Every day, 24 hours a day, he is the president. My name is Umaru Sanda. This has been Situation Room on Citi TV. We return to next week on Thursday. Stay with us.